playing this game. I want to share with not just chess players, but everyday readers. For me, chess has just been life changing. And there's so many lessons I talk about, whether it's knowing your opponent's ideas, thinking about them first. All competition begins, all competitive strategy begins with thinking about the other person's ideas, not your own. Whether it's things like learning from your mistakes, we chess players, we embrace our mistakes. We don't run away from them. We study them very, very carefully in order to avoid making those same mistakes in the future. Another one is becoming like a child. For me, I may be a grandmaster, but I always consider myself an advanced beginner. I'm always learning not just advanced ideas, but basic ideas, things that I saw 20, 30 years ago. And I see them again, I think, man, did I never learn this stuff? Because the basics have a lot to teach us in whatever it is that we do. So it's ideas like that and many more that I share in the book in order to give those lessons to others so they can improve their critical thinking skills, their decision making skills, whether it's in business, whether it's in their personal lives, just for general improvement overall.
We got so many schools, so many students that are involved in various chess activities, chess clubs, competitions, that sort of thing. If there were some players out there, some chess players that wanted to get involved in the world of chess and be on that, grand stage, what would you recommend they do?
Well, back in the day, I would say books, books, books. Grab the best chess book you can find and start studying away. But these days, 21st century, it's all online. It's all digital. You can go to great websites like stlouischessclub.org and see videos, not just of how to play, but with the great tournaments, the great masters and grandmasters of the game, with commentary that breaks it down, keeps it nice and relatable so that you can begin to appreciate the finer points of the game. You can see chess puzzles for you to practice so that whenever you get in those kind of game type situations, you'll be able to find the winning move. So it's all really online for everyone to be able to study thousands, if not tens of thousands of video hours. stlouischessclub.org, just one of the great websites you can go to learn more.
Maurice, this has been a great interview. We really appreciate you taking the time on the digital desk. I leave the last question open to you. Anything else you want to mention before we let you go to the people of Memphis in the Mid-South?
Well, again, chess is one of those games that transforms lives. And I often say that the journey gives value to the destination. Whatever it is that you're doing, it's step by step, any obstacle you face, move by move, just keep your head to the grindstone and you'll get there. That's one of the lessons I learned from chess. You definitely want to apply it to your life.
All right, Maurice Ashley, Grandmaster, talking about the future of American chess, and that future is a bright one. Maurice, we appreciate you on the digital desk. Thanks so much.
Memphis police have now cleared this scene, but store owners are left with a mess. This is at the intersection of New Getwell Road and Winchester Road, a shopping plaza here in this area. The business at question is nothing but hair. It's a hair business. company here in South Memphis. Memphis police tell us the U-Haul rammed through this business around 2:30 this morning. They were here until around 6:30 this morning investigating, working to learn who is responsible for this mess, as well as if those people stole anything. We also saw people who possibly work or own this business, but again, it's very early in the investigation that Memphis police are still working to learn, again, very important details to this possible burglary. You can stick with Action News 5 for those developments. Reporting in South Memphis, Sydney Hawkins, Action News 5.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Right now, we're talking a little bit about skincare and the health of your skin. It's so important, especially now during the summer months. Right now, we have Dr. Dustin Portilla, a dermatologist, with us. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to visit with you, Ariana.
So I think this is really interesting because on social media, there's been a lot of talk. I'm sure you've heard and seen about it regarding skincare and sunscreen and should we be wearing it, should we not? Of course, I think we all know the answer is we should, but tell us just why this is so important.
Yeah, our skin health is critically important, and a lot of people don't understand how our skin health can affect our overall health, or how our health with conditions like diabetes or autoimmune disease might manifest on the skin. There really is a lack of awareness and education for people to understand their skin health, and sometimes it's very difficult to access care from a dermatologist. So we're coming together to help inform people about World Skin Health Day.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about World Skin Health Day. When is it? What do we need to know? What can other people do to get involved?
Yeah, World Skin Health Day is an annual day organized by the International League of Dermatological Societies and the International Society of Dermatology. This year it's taking place on July 8th. And the skincare brand CeraVe is the corporate partner this year, encouraging dermatologists to visit their local NAFC, National Free and Association of Charitable Clinics, to volunteer their time to provide free skin cancer screening exams, education, and products to underserved and under-resourced communities and people who just might not be able to access the care that their skin needs.
No, this is really helpful and really great. What are some other tips that you can give people when it comes to their skin, especially, we have the 4th of July holiday out, people on boats, some people, may not understand just how serious this is.
Yeah, prevention is always the best practice. And when it comes to the health of our skin, especially in summer, we encourage people to protect their skin by wearing sun protective clothing, making sure that you're getting sunscreen on your face or any other exposed areas to prevent sunburn, to prevent damage that could lead to skin cancer at some point in your life. And if you do notice something that is different about your skin, to go see a board certified dermatologist to know if there's a more serious issue going on.
Now, this is really helpful. Is there anything else, Dr. Bertilla, you think that I should know, our viewers should know, really, as we just come upon World Skin Health Day?
Yeah, so on World Skin Health Day, dermatologists across the country will be volunteering at local NAFC clinics to volunteer their time. And if individuals in your area would like to know if there's an event happening at a clinic near you, I would encourage them to visit CeraVeForWorldSkinHealth.com/MySkinHealth or follow CeraVe on social media at CeraVe to understand what events are happening in their area and be proactive about the health of their skin.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Bertilla. We appreciate your time and especially these timely tips for the summer months and, of course, as we come upon World Skin Health Day. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Conversation that we have to have, keeping our pets safe and healthy and preventing them from overheating. And here to tell us exactly how we can do that is a global vet with the Wellness Pet Company, Dr. Danielle Bernal. Good morning to you, doctor.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. So let's just jump right into it with what are some of the immediate actions pet parents can take in order to ensure the safety and well-being of our pets during these very hot months?
Well, the first one is we need to start thinking a little more preparedness. If you're going to be exercising your dog, which is great on routines, try and go early morning or in that late evening. We really want to avoid those hot parts of the day. We all know, for example, we should never leave an animal in a locked car. It can take just 7 minutes, so always take them with you. Or if you're at home, even make sure that they've got plenty of shade, plenty of water, and ideally can come inside to cool off as well.
You know, as a pet parent, you think you're making and doing the right things to make sure that your pet is safe. But tell me some of the signs to look out for that you can kind of notice when your pet might be overheating.
Yeah, so our dogs, they're different to us. They don't sweat. So when they get hot, you'll start to notice that they're panting. They may be breathing a little bit more, laying themselves down on the cool floor. They're all normal signs of it just being a hot day. Once it starts to progress and their breathing looks labored, their heart rate is increasing, there may be a glassiness to their eyes, they may be looking, a bit dizzy and uncoordinated, or really just struggling overall, that's the immediate signs that something has definitely gone wrong. They're experiencing heat stroke, and it's time to call your veterinarian to get them to help you out there and then, or even, and probably more likely, to get into the clinic where they can help your dog get that temperature back down.
great advice. And I know everyone has their own routine. I know some pet parents, especially like dog owners, you like to take your dog out for a walk early in the morning, and some even that afternoon or late at night. How should we alternate or how should we change up our routine during the summer months? Because I know in the middle of the day it can get pretty toasty out there.
It can. So try and use what that's sort of a common sense. You know yourself, going for that run in the middle of the day is just not an option in the summer months. So if you're thinking you're going to do hard activity with your pet, definitely choose those cooler times. If you're out maybe on more bitumen or concrete all the time, it may actually be worth even getting extra booties to take with them. And again, the routine is important, but also think of ways you can adapt your pet to that. So if they've got thick, shaggy hair, maybe it's time to get that summer cut and trim that off to help them overall just stay cool and keep that temperature down.
And I know it seems like a lot. I know pet owners who are watching us this morning, they're taking notes. It's not too difficult. I mean, I know that you have several preventative measures, things that we should know, but we shouldn't scare pet owners. I mean, it's not, I guess, we don't want to scare them from actually taking their dog out on a walk. You can still do that.
Absolutely. The normal day-to-day is absolutely fine. What I encourage pet parents is to definitely keep doing that. But just be more cautious if you've got a very young pet, an old pet, or a pet that may not be used to normal activity and exercise, and suddenly your college student comes home and says, I'm taking them for a run. They're the big watch out times. The other thing I'd say is, even if you are doing your daily exercise, fabulous, that's good for you and your pet. Don't forget to then just extra compensate with more hydration. Keeping those fluids up on these hot days are really important, and great ways of doing that obviously is water bowls, have them out extras. You can create little popsicles, which is kind of like an icy treat for our pets, or even look to giving them, cool water wading ponds, or putting damp towels on them, or bringing them into the air conditioning. Now, if you've got a cat, that may be a little bit more tricky. So they're known for being a little bit fussy with how they like to drink their water, whether it's flowing water or a shower or a tap or just a water fountain. So that's where I'd also encourage pet parents, think about now adding more wet food into their diet, because that's a great way of adding lots of hydration and a tasty reward at the same time.
And speaking of hydration, let's talk a little bit about some of the hydrating foods. That should we change, what we're feeding our pets during the summer months as well?
Yeah, I encourage pet parents too. Our pets will find it as a tasty treat regardless. What you may not know, for example, with a cat, is that a 3-ounce can, quite small, is actually 1/3 of their total daily requirements of water. So they need about a cup a day. So if you don't think your cat's drinking it, that's where I encourage you to do it. And as I said, even for dogs, you don't have to change their base if they're eating kibble every day. Just start putting some wet toppers on top. That's something that will drive that mealtime excitement up. But that way you're overcompensating just to make sure that they're well hydrated, they're getting their amount every single day, and that they're going to be less likely to experience those stress that comes with those really hot days.
As a vet, how often during the summer do you see pets come in dealing with overheating?
So it's occasional, I will say that. You mentioned it before, pet parents take the right actions and their pet stays safe. It's only really truly extreme cases where something goes wrong, whether that pet's got stuck somewhere and it's out in a kennel, hasn't got shade, when there's no good ventilation, or they've done some extreme exercise that's really pushed them into having some challenges. So they're really the two occasions that we see it most. And as I said, it definitely spikes on those hot days, but it still is an infrequent action because so many pet parents do take those great actions to keep their pets safe.
This is great advice for the pet parents watching us this morning. If they want to learn additional information or just want to know more, where can they go to get that information?
Yeah, I encourage you to head to wellnesspetfood.com. We've got lots of blog information, nutritional details, and even more videos from myself with lots of great tips. So if you want to find out more, check out that, and you'll find, of course, all the other wellness nutrition products at the same time.
Well, you heard it there. That's Dr. Danielle Bernal with that great advice. Was there anything else that you wanted to add today that I did not ask you?
The last thing I'd say is don't forget it's grill season. So don't forget, at the same time, whilst we're trying to keep them cool, we need to watch out what we feed them. So make sure if you're giving extra tidbits to also keep those in moderation, because that's the second biggest thing we see during these summer months.
All right, that was Dr. Danielle Bernal. Thanks so much for stopping by the Action News 5 digital desk. Definitely writing down those tips and advice, and look forward to sharing this information with more pet parents. See ya. News 5 digital desk. I'm Taylor Tucker in for Andrew Douglas. We have that interview for you that we've been talking about and kind of teasing too about that summer diet, and here with tips and with everything we need to know to help us out with that summer plan is Leslie Ely with Methodist Le Bonheur. Hey, Leslie, can you hear me? Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's just start with step one. Where do we even start when we're trying to create a summer plan for our diet?
So we need to think about what's in season right now. That is where I like to start, because not only is that where you're going to get the best bang for your buck, a lot of these things are going to be really well priced, but also just a lot of nutrients there, a lot of different colors and veggies, fruits, all those kind of things.
So what would you say are some of the healthy and refreshing meal options for this summer that can help us stay hydrated?
So a lot of our in-season fruits and veggies are high in that water content. So think lettuces, watermelon, cucumbers, celery, a lot of these things that you can grow in a backyard garden as well. Lettuce is fairly easy to grow and, easy to just throw on burgers, make a salad, things like that. So those things help you stay hydrated, fun and easy for kids to grow themselves.
I don't know. Did you get any of that? I think my mic was down. Could you hear me?
I did it. No, ma'am.
We're just having a day with these mics. So I was asking you about creating a plan. Like, where do you start with that? I know we talk a lot about incorporating fruits and veggies into our meal plan, but how often should we be consuming those items?
So we want that plenty throughout the day, as much as you can, honestly. Where I like to start is I try to pick something interesting at the grocery store. So like fresh corn is in season right now. So then I'm thinking, okay, what can I make with corn? What can we do with this? I like to get my kids involved, look up recipes on Pinterest.
Yeah.
I also like to use things that we like to do in the summertime, like grill. So what can we grill? How often can we use something that we're grilling? So I like to say, cook once, use twice. So if I'm cooking some chicken on the grill, throw on an extra one for another dinner later that week. So that's really like where I like to start. What are my plans? Am I going to be out at the pool all day? Am I going to want to come home and cook something? Probably not. So a lot of this is planning ahead to make it easy on yourself.
And speaking of grilling, because I know that is the thing to do during the summer months, is grilling, barbecuing, especially here in Memphis. How do you do that? Because we're not saying, hey, don't go out and, have a nice meal or a nice barbecue, but how do you do that while also incorporating those healthy nutrients that you need?
Well, I think a lot of times you can be that person that just says like, "Hey, let me add something to throw in the grill." If we're meeting friends or whatever, I've been known to say, "Okay, we're making ribs and baked beans and other things. Let me bring a vegetable that we can also throw on the grill easily. You've got it running. Let's just add one green thing to the mix." So don't be afraid to just use those in season fruits and veggies and pair it up with the things that you already love and that you're already cooking.
Great advice there. And I know summer is right around the corner. The official start is next Thursday, I believe. And I've been hearing you say to plan ahead. So let's start planning. What's some advice that you can give us today that we can do to get us ready for Thursday?
So next time you're at the grocery store, just browse around. What's a good price right now? Those are likely going to be the things that are in season that taste the best: cherries, strawberries, peaches, watermelons, things like that. But also think about, like, are you going on a road trip? Plan ahead. Maybe get out that school lunchbox and pack some snacks for the car, things that you're not going to be able to really have access to while you're on the road, while you're out and about. So really just thinking about what you like to eat in the summer, and maybe some things that you've tried before at a restaurant that you want to recreate at home. So all fun and easy things to do during the summer.
I like how you put that. Was there anything that you wanted to add that I did not ask you today about creating our summer diet, our plan to just eat healthy throughout the summer? Anything, Leslie?
Yeah, sure. Just reminder that we do have the Healthy 901 program, so just sign up for that and check back for more tips and tricks throughout the summer. You might hear from me just of things that we can keep doing with our nutrition plan.
Yeah, and for our new viewers, can you tell them a little additional information about the Healthy 901 Now program?
Yeah, the Healthier 901 program is a push for weight loss across the Mid-South, but just more than that, just we're giving, tips and tricks from different disciplines. So dietitians, doctors, just things that we can be doing to make our Mid-South healthier. Even if you're not looking to lose weight, you might get some tips and tricks like this.
I love that. Again, that's Leslie Ely with Methodist Le Bonheur. Thanks so much for stopping by the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Looking forward to chatting with you again.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Every other Monday, we like to talk with our friend Sam Hardiman, City Beat reporter for the Daily Memphian, to talk about what he's working on and certain stories of the past few days. And can't help, Sam, good morning to you, but think about what happened on Friday morning, early at 2 o'clock Friday morning, with Joseph McKinney, a 26-year-old police officer with MPD. Being involved in a shootout with a suspect, losing his life in the line of duty. That suspect, the 18-year-old, is also dead, Jalen Lobley, and then a 17-year-old and another officer in the hospital, from what I understand still. This morning, so many people have questions, and perhaps you have heard those questions as well, about how Lobley was able to get out or be released on his own recognizance 1 month prior after getting into trouble. Are you hearing a lot of those questions? Tell me your thoughts on a Monday after this happened Friday.
it kind of became apparent that this was the thing to talk about, right? Unfortunately, this tragedy that happened in our city on Friday morning. But yeah, we've heard the same questions, Andrew, and it really has been really loud, to be quite honest, these questions. And I mean, the police chief CJ Davis said it, when she was telling the public of Officer McKinney's death, right? Like, Jalen Lobley was out on his own recognizance for, being in a stolen car, for having a Glock switch, right? And those things are illegal; those are felonies. And he, under the terms of his release, according to paperwork obtained by the Daily Memphian, he was supposed to have a curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Clearly, he's accused of shooting. He's dead now, but he's accused of shooting and killing Officer McKinney, and that clearly happened at a time when he was supposed to be abiding by curfew. And the question, I have, and that lingers for me, is, well, if you're released on your own recognizance and have a curfew, who's monitoring that curfew? Or is there no monitoring whatsoever, and it's just honor system? Hey, don't be out between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Like, that's a real question, and I think readers and viewers really have a fair question to ask.
Agreed. Yeah, who's supposed to monitor that? The other issue, Sam, is that I saw State Senator Brent Taylor talk about this even before this incident, that there should be other ways in order to set bond or set bail with some of these offenders out there, and perhaps this judicial commissioner and taking into account whether they can afford it or financial aspects to it. Is this going? I mean, it feels like something like this would spur a change with that whole formula. Do you see something like that perhaps coming?
Oh, absolutely. Whether to weigh in on the efficacy of it is not really mine to weigh in on, but certainly I think that this will set the political winds of change a-blowing, right? To use that cliche. Absolutely. I mean, I think judicial commissioners were already being questioned. Their roles were being questioned. I think they've faced more scrutiny in the past 6-7 months in Memphis, Tennessee than they've faced in my 5 years here. And I would wager that more scrutiny is coming, right? Because I think our city as a society is really questioning who should be out on bond and for what things should they be out on bond for. And you can see in the documents, regarding Jalen Lobley, you can see that, MPD asked for a $150,000 bond. Then there was briefly a $10,000 bond given, and then he was released on his own recognizance, right? And that got lower and lower until there was nothing as time went on. And that, is something that people are going to really question. And, I think as a society, we're going to have also a conversation about, who gets bond, but definitely this system that no one really understood a year ago, and maybe most people still don't understand and get, it's definitely in the spotlight, and it's going to stay in the spotlight because, one of the people who signed up to protect citizens of Memphis and risk their life for Memphis, Officer McKinney, he's dead. And, 2 of his colleagues are wounded, and, a 18-year-old and a 18-year-old is dead, and Jalen Lobley and a 17-year-old is also wounded. Like, there was a lot of bloodshed, and the question is did the bail system set up that bloodshed?
The name Chris Ingram has come up on our reports as the judicial commissioner
Yes.
who recommended he should be released on his own recognizance. Have we heard anything from him? Has anyone tried to track him down and perhaps get a response?
I know that we've reported his name. I'm not sure if my colleague Aaron Fleming, who's really been carrying the water on this with me playing backup, has called him yet. But I would love to hear from him. I think a lot of people would love to hear from him, and I think it's at the same time, these are public officials, and they're in the spotlight, not by choice in this case, obviously, but it's definitely we would love to hear. And at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this is an anecdotal thing. As tragic as it is, as many questions as we have, not to lose perspective here, right? Because there are probably dozens of people, and I don't have data in front of me, and this is speculation, and so people don't come at me, don't at me on Twitter here, but there are probably dozens of people who are released on their own recognizance, who are given similar terms as Jalen Lobley were, and they probably abide by them, right? And so, as much as the judicial commissioners and the bail system is going to be in the spotlight here, we have a very, very sad anecdotal case. And really what we do need to see is really hard data on, are people who are being released without bail, are they abiding by the terms of their release? Because I think that is something, as much as we want to focus on the public official who let this one young man out, we also have to keep that in mind.
The other thing, Sam, and just playing devil's advocate here, I mean, you have MPD recommending $150,000 bond. You have another commissioner recommending $10,000. You have the DA's office recommending against lowering the bond, but yet this one judicial commissioner, Chris Ingram, says no bond, release on his own recognizance. I feel like there are a lot of people that are wondering, why would you go against the DA's office, go against MPD, for what? I mean, for what reason, you know?
Absolutely, a very fair question. And also, given what Jaylen Lobley was accused of, right? I would sort of raise the question, and I guess the DA, DA Mulroy did raise this in a statement of, like, he was, I think labeled, I don't have the correct verbiage from the DA statement. I didn't read it again today. I read it Friday, but high risk, right? I mean, this is a young man, a man, 18 years old, legal adult, who's being, previously in March, being arrested for being in a stolen car and possession of a Glock switch. Those are, by any definition, high risk behaviors, right? And I think that's what the DA said. They were high risk behaviors. He was labeled as a high risk offender, right? And so, I think the broader question beyond the judicial commissioner, which is certainly fair, right? And raising that question, but also just what happens to, high risk offenders? Like, what is happening in general? Because, Jaylen Lobley isn't the first person that's getting caught with a Glock switch in a stolen car. Not the first, won't be the last. And so what is happening there? And as a society, how do we treat people when they're found and accused credibly of those things?
Yeah, it's sad all around, but certainly there needs to be a really tough discussion that comes out of this, so that our society is less violent, I would think. Anything else you want to talk about with regards to this before we let you go, Sam?
No, I mean, obviously there are multiple families grieving. It's tragic, and as much as we talk about this in the news, like, it's important to remember, and my heart goes out to Officer McKinney's family and Jaylen Lobley's family, because both groups are mourning, and it's really sad, and we got to keep that in mind. But yeah, it's the city has too much of this, and I guess I'm editorializing a bit there, but yeah, it just has too much of this, and it is very, very sad.
Yeah. There's no question. I think all of us are in agreement that this has to stop, and it's got to stop in some form or fashion immediately, as soon as possible. Sam, really appreciate your work. Always appreciate the discussion, and we'll look forward to seeing what else you are reporting for on the Daily Memphian this week and next. We appreciate it.
All right, the time now is 10 o'clock. Thanks so much for sticking around and hanging out with us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We're going to shift gears now, because I got a pretty cool story for you this morning. Of course, we all know the U.S. Army is known for keeping soldiers in tip-top physical and mental shape, but now a handful of these soldiers will actually put this training to the test, as they are getting the opportunity to represent America in another uniform, competing in the upcoming 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. And joining us now to share about his experience is Staff Sergeant William Hinton. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. Let's just jump right into it. I mean, how has the Army supported you on your path and prepared you for the opportunity to compete in the Olympics?
The Army's been one of the biggest factors in my success. I've been an instructor shooter with the Army Marksmanship Unit for 8 years now. I've made every team except the Olympic team. So this one took a little bit longer than I anticipated. But the Army has played a huge role in the resources, the skills that I can hone, and the support. They've allowed me, to put myself on the grandest stage in the world and compete and prove that I'm one of the best. So the Army's done a huge amount for my shooting career.
They're just muted on their end. Staff Sergeant, just hang in there.
Oh, teammate, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Are we good?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. But I was saying that you kind of, this opportunity, does it seem surreal? You're able to not only represent this country in uniform, but now for the Olympics as well.
It's definitely one of the most humbling opportunities I've ever had. I put out a post for myself once I figured out I was named to the team that if I ever doubted the support, I never have to again. I've had an overwhelming amount of people from the Army itself, and especially all of America support me. If anything, it's empowered me and my will to win even more. So it's a humbling privilege.
And would you say it's really not surprising, or is it surprising that the Army has so many athletic contenders who are able to compete at such a high level in the U.S. Olympics?
I would say it is and it isn't surprising. It is surprising because a lot of people don't realize all the opportunities the Army has to offer. You can go to goarmy.com and see all of the opportunities and skills. But on the flip side of the coin, it's not that surprising. The Army teaches so much about being resilient and being, dedicated and being responsible about goals and tasks. So it's definitely a winning atmosphere you're surrounded by at all times.
What are you looking forward to the most, Sergeant, with this experience? I know
I'm looking forward to
about the journey. Yeah, go ahead.
Mainly competing. I'm trying to stay at baseline. I still have a lot of training, but if anything, I've finally reached a check the box where I've made the Olympic team, but really now I get to work hard and prove that I can be one of the best. Ideally, I will take any podium finish, but gold specifically is what I have my sights on. So I'm training and I'm staying focused until then.
Training and just loving the journey that you're going through. What advice would you give to someone who is watching this and it's their dream to put on that uniform and represent the country in the Olympics? Maybe not this year, but what advice would you give them?
My biggest advice is I'm just like anyone else. I was in school before I joined the Army. I actually did not know anything about the Army, but the Army, as well as my own hard work and goals, it has definitely set me up for success. So I would say it's attainable and it's realistic for anyone as long as you're willing to put in the work. The Army specifically has helped me with my goals, but you can do it. It just takes a lot of hard work, a little bit harder than I thought it would be, but here we are.
And it's all about when you get there, not how long it takes. Thanks so much for stopping by the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Let me ask you, are there any other opportunities in the U.S. Army that you can share with us today?
Absolutely. There's an overwhelming amount of opportunities, skills, and job training in the Army. So for any information, it'd be too much to name. You can go to goarmy.com and you can find out anything about the Army. And then specifically myself as an instructor shooter, you can look at USAMU 1956 on Instagram and follow along the U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit.
All righty. Well, thanks so much for chatting with us today, and good luck on your journey, okay?
Thank you.
You've probably heard it before when it comes to not getting enough sleep. We're supposed to get anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, but due to stress, alcohol, caffeine, and technology, that can all contribute to a poor night's sleep. And a recent survey found that itch is the #1 frustration that impacts sleep for adults. And and sometimes those kiddos of ours, they also, their eczema also flares up as well. We want to talk about all of this right now with Dr. John Browning. He's a pediatric dermatologist. He is joining us on the digital desk. And John, good morning to you. Tell us what some of the biggest challenges that people are facing when it comes to sleep, when it comes to eczema, that sort of thing. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Andrew, for having me. And yes, I'm so glad you brought up skin as being another cause of sleep disturbance, because what we found is that the itch from atopic dermatitis or eczema can indeed wake you up at night. And as a parent of 2 kids with atopic dermatitis and as a pediatric dermatologist, I'm not surprised to learn about this finding, although I was surprised to know that 76% of patients indeed had complaints of sleep disturbance from their itchy atopic dermatitis. And, you know, we've got enough reasons to keep us up at night. We certainly don't need to have our skin be another one of those reasons.
100% agree with you. I have a family member as well that has eczema, but I didn't realize a lack of sleep causes it to flare up. Is that, in fact, the case?
Well, you know, really, it's actually the flare that causes the lack of sleep. So, you know, out of the blue, they may have a flare. We don't always have one reason that causes that flare. It can be a change in the weather. It can be something that touches their skin, or, you know, sometimes in the summer we'll see heat and sweat do it, but they can wake up in the middle of the night. And if you've got young kids who have eczema and you go in their rooms at night, sometimes you see them just fidgeting around, scratching even in their sleep. And then they wake up. And I remember when my kids were little and they would often wake up at night flared, and, you know, sometimes you give them some medicine like Benadryl to help them sleep, but that's often inadequate. And we've had many vacations where we've had problems because we've had the atopic dermatitis flare and haven't been prepared for that.
So what causes eczema, and what's the best treatment for it?
That's a really great question. And so, you know, at the end of the day, there's not really one cause of atopic dermatitis. And sometimes I have patients that come and see me and they just want to be tested. They just want some kind of test. You know, please tell me, what is it? What's causing my eczema? Why does my kid have it? Is there food out there? Is there something in the air? And, you know, unfortunately, it's multifactorial. So even though there are things that can aggravate your atopic dermatitis, at the end of the day, it's really 2 big reasons why they have it. Number one, you've got an impaired skin barrier, and that's just genetic. You're born with skin that dries out. It doesn't hold moisture like it should. Different things irritate it. And then your immune system goes into overdrive, and it causes redness, it causes swelling, it causes cracks. That's where the itch comes into play. You know, sometimes you have bleeding on your sheets at night from scratching while you're sleeping. So those are the 2 reasons. And there's not, you know, one thing only that causes it.
I've noticed sometimes with my specific family member that a certain diet can help alleviate some of that itching. Is that what you experience? Would you recommend someone with eczema have a certain diet in order to, you know, keep it under control? What do you think?
People ask me about that all the time, and I always tell them, absolutely, good diet is always important. You want to have a healthy diet. You want to avoid those processed foods. You want to avoid things that are gonna, you know, make your insulin spike. You want to be healthy. So I think it's very important to remind people that healthy diet and healthy sleep are both really important for atopic dermatitis. And I have partnered with Dermavant Sciences, and I'm happy to raise awareness about the survey with these findings of sleep disturbances and, you know, some of the things that patients are experiencing who have atopic dermatitis. So you might consider visiting our website, dermavant.com/sleep itch survey, where you can learn more about some of those symptoms and some of the other things associated with atopic dermatitis.
I appreciate that info, Doctor. What about any other major takeaways that we can tell our audience right now when it comes to research and studies on this topic?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think, you know, for one thing, folks should know that there shouldn't be a stigma associated with atopic dermatitis. It's not contagious. You know, unfortunately, it's very visible, so people see it. You know, if it's on your hands, they feel it, but they should know it's not contagious. There shouldn't be a stigma. They can talk to their doctor. They can have learn about their options for treating it. They should definitely visit the website dermavant.com/sleep itch survey so they can learn more about it, as well as what their different options might be moving on in the future.
Okay, Dr. John Browning, we really appreciate you coming on the digital desk to talk about this eczema and how it can lead to a lack of sleep for so many millions of Americans out there. Thanks so very much, and we appreciate it. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. We know the signs of a heart attack, the pain in the chest and arm, but what is a foot attack? It's when arteries in the lower limbs get clogged with plaque, preventing blood flow and oxygen from reaching the lower leg and foot. It's very painful. It's very dangerous, and it's caused by the most prevalent disease you probably have never heard of. It's called peripheral artery disease, or PAD, P-A-D. I'm joined now by two people who can talk more about PAD. Dr. Sahil Parikh of Columbia University Irving Medical Center and Dr. Jennifer Jones McMeans, Divisional Vice President of Global Clinical Affairs at Abbott. Good morning to you both. First, Dr. Parikh, tell us more about peripheral artery disease and how prevalent it is. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, peripheral artery disease is definitely the most prevalent disease you've never heard of. It affects about 1 in 10 Americans, or 40 million Americans, and it's exactly what you described. It's the blockage of the circulation to the legs by plaque. You know, plaque is a substance made out of cholesterol and calcium and other things, and it's the same kind of problems that block the arteries to the heart and cause a heart attack, or to the brain and can cause stroke. But here in the legs, when you develop plaque in the arteries, you restrict the blood flow, and gradually patients will develop symptoms like pain in their legs when they're walking or exercising. And then the blockages can get worse, and people can develop pain at rest, just sitting there. And then ultimately they can develop wounds. And when that happens, they're at risk for amputation. So it's a very serious problem.
It sounds like it. And so the symptoms, I would suspect foot pain. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that at first patients usually don't recognize that their symptoms are related to circulation. For example, patients as they get older are more likely to develop PAD, and they often will have leg pains for a host of reasons: arthritis, muscular pains, a host of things. But really what happens with PAD is that you have pain at exertion when you're walking or exercising, and then it gets better with resting. And then subsequently the pains progress and they happen at rest, and patients sometimes describe having to dangle their legs off the side of the bed in order to have gravity help provide blood flow. And that's really when it's a serious concern, and they're at risk for developing both wounds and amputation. So in all cases, those symptoms should prompt early evaluation by a physician.
You said it could develop into amputation. I understand it's very dangerous. Could it cause death as well?
Well, you know, these patients who are at risk for amputation also generally have plaque throughout their body. So very often patients with PAD that's severe enough to cause wounds or amputation are at risk for heart attack and stroke. And so, yes, it's a life-threatening systemic condition.
Dr. McMeans, over to you. Tell us about Abbott's new stent and why it matters for people living with PAD.
Yeah, Abbott is very proud to have this first of its kind dissolving stent called Esprit BTK that was recently approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And so currently the standard of care that Dr. Parikh has been speaking about for patients is one of them is balloon angioplasty. And balloon angioplasty, even though it is successful with pushing the plaque aside, part of the problem is, though, it doesn't sustain itself. And so about 50% of the time or more, the artery closes up again and the patient has to come back for retreatment. Whereas Spree, once it's delivered to the area that needs to be treated and the plaque is pushed aside, it actually releases a drug. And this drug is very important because it's going to be part of the reason why the artery is going to stay open. And the Esprit scaffold itself is going to support the artery for a short period of time. And then about after 3 years, it goes away. And this is also an important point as well because it actually allows for other treatment options if necessary in the future. But what was key about Esprit, what we found in our trials, one of the trial being Life BTK, is that it actually is superior. It's better than standard of care balloon angioplasty and keeping that blood vessel or that artery open and preventing some of the items that Dr. Parikh talked about needing retreatment, which is due to the fact that patients are feeling feeling recurrent pain or potentially even developing wounds.
Dr. Parikh, what should people do if they think they have PAD? I mean, is this something that they need to go see their doctor right away, and how should they handle it?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to acknowledge symptoms. Patients have leg pains for a lot of reasons, but if there are symptoms that are bothering patients, they should go see their doctor. And it's very simple to distinguish whether they have circulation problems. Their doctor can evaluate their pulses by feeling the pulses in their feet. And there's simple tests, ultrasounds and blood pressure cuffs that can identify whether there's blockages, and then treatment can be initiated. Medications that can reduce the progression of the disease and new plaque from forming. Walking and exercise can help improve circulation. And then if need be, we have now great technologies to open the blockages, and Esprit BTK is the latest in our armamentarium to treat these patients.
Where can people go to get more information on this?
Yes, if interested, viewers can go to abbott.com, or they also can go to info.com.
Okay, thank you very much for talking about this PAD disease that we really didn't know much about. Very, very important, very serious, and very dangerous too. We appreciate your time. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. More than 7 in 10 American adults are overweight or have obesity. It's one of the most common chronic health issues in the U.S. today and can lead or exacerbate many other health challenges, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and depression. And research shows that even just 5 to 10% of your body weight loss, well, that can improve so many different things. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, joint pain, sleep apnea, and other weight-related conditions. And weight loss injections are an impactful, very impactful tool in the weight loss toolkit. Let's talk more about what this means for Americans out there. I'm joined right now by Craig Primack, Hims and Hers SVP of Weight Loss. He joins us on the digital desk to talk about this more. So, Craig, good morning to you. First, let's talk about the epidemic with obesity, because it is becoming increasingly more common than ever before, and that is such a detrimental to so many people's health out there, right? Good morning.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it great in your intro. Obesity is one of the most common chronic health issues in our country today. Over the past 40 or 50 years, it's just skyrocketed. And that's from a lot of factors. There isn't any one thing that's doing that. But now we know that about 1 in 3, or actually even about 40% of our adult population has obesity. And if you add in overweight, it's about 70% of our population. This increases the risk of many illnesses, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and actually even several cancers. And losing even just a little bit of weight decreases that. Obviously, more weight loss is always better.
So let me ask you this, Craig, because the hot thing right now seems to be and other drugs that people take to lose weight. Where do you stand on that? Is that a good thing? Is there some problems with it? What do we know right now?
Well, all the injectables, we'll call them, the injectable GLP-1 drugs, they've been out for several years, and they have the most potent effects we've seen in the lifetime of treating weight. And if people could do this easily on their own, either losing the weight and just keeping it off, obviously, or losing weight and then they're not able to keep it off, so they gain again and they lose and they gain, these medicines really help that.
Okay, and can you maybe do a deep dive into how it helps, and are there any long-term effects that the public needs to know about?
So the GLP-1s really are designed to decrease hunger. And they do that really well by crossing the blood-brain barrier. They do some other things as far as insulin and slowing the transit of the stomach down. At the end of the day, it takes a comprehensive approach. So just using the medications are not enough. You do need to have a balanced diet. You need to be active at somewhat, sleep 7 hours a night and so forth. As far as long-term, like all medications, there is a risk of side effects, but there's really, with the GLP-1s, only 3 short-term things that we talk about, and they're mild. Heartburn, nausea, constipation, and they're treated very well. And when you take the risk of the drug versus the risk of being overweight and all the health risks beyond that, usually the benefits outweigh the risk for most people.
Got you. And of course, when you talk about GLP-1 injections, you are talking about that active ingredient with Ozempic and Wegovy. Also, you mentioned, and I think this gets overstated or understated, I should say, you have to improve your lifestyle habits. You have to exercise. You have to eat a well-balanced diet. You have to get enough sleep, right? I mean, it's a comprehensive approach.
Absolutely. These medicines, and that's the myth that people believe, these medicines are not magic. They're great tools for decreasing hunger, and then helps you adhere to the other aspects. And you said them right. So it's changing your diet or improving your diet, eating less ultra-processed foods, making sure you're getting enough protein, moving throughout the day. Strength training is great if you like it, getting 7 hours of sleep, those kind of things.
So, if someone's watching, we have thousands of people that watch us on the Action News 5 digital desk, Craig. If someone's watching and they said, okay, well, I'm obese, I want to try this, or I'm a little overweight, but I think I could benefit from this, what do you tell people? Is there a certain guideline versus, if someone is obese versus someone who's maybe just a little pudgy or a little overweight?
Yeah, I mean, the FDA gives us very strict guidelines on when to use, especially the injectable drugs. Your body mass index should be 30 or greater, or 27 with multiple other risk factors, which, makes your health more of a concern. Things like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, sleep apnea, things like that. That's where we think of these are great. The people who should consider weight loss drugs have either been unable to lose weight on their own, or they can lose weight, but unfortunately they gain it back, and they lose weight and they gain it back. And so it's not that they're not trying. It's that on their own, they can't do it. And that's where we consider working with a healthcare professional to put medicines as part of your overall treatment plan.
Craig, is there a place we can go online to get some more information about what we discussed?
Absolutely. For more information for men, go to hims.com/GLP1. And for women, go to forhers.com/GLP1.
Okay, Craig Primack, talking about the myths and busting those myths around weight loss medication. Craig, I appreciate the time. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Yes, the school year is wrapping up, and guess what? Kids are going to be home looking for stuff to do. They're going to be looking for things that keep them occupied and motivated, and getting them what parents want to do is get them off the couch, get them outdoors and enjoying things without having to spend all that time with screens all around them. We don't want them on iPads or iPhones all summer long. We want them doing things and getting them out and about. So let's talk about some of the trends out there when it comes to various toys and what can keep those kids busy this time of year. I'm joined right now by Elizabeth Werner. She is a renowned toy industry expert. She's joining us once again on the digital desk. Elizabeth, where do we begin when it comes to kids and keeping them busy into the late spring, early summer? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having me. We've got a whole variety. Let's jump right in with a brand new line brought to us by Fisher-Price. They have created a wood line of toys that are just gorgeous. They have 18 new items. Now, Fisher-Price is 94 years old, and they started off making wooden toys to celebrate that legacy. This new line is affordable, high quality, beautiful, colorful wooden toys. It brings us back to the basics, allows our children to develop the way that we did, using that eye-hand coordination, sequencing, and yes, open-ended beautiful play. These are gorgeous and will end up heirlooms for sure. This is for our little ones, by the way, starting off at 6 months. Now, I hear what you're saying about getting the kids outdoors. So how about the Crazy Cart Shuffle? Check this out. This is brought to us by Razor. This is kid powered. So they hop on this go-kart, no batteries to charge or maintain, so it's always ready. They hop on, they put their feet on, and they shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Now, you see those feet wiggling, but when they pull up those handlebars, that's when the fun begins for them. They get to drift, they get to spin. This is like no other cart, pure enjoyment. They're going to develop some great self-confidence. And what I love as a mom, this actually grows with your child. So the frame itself can be extended or adjusted 5 times. So starting off at age 4, but taking them up to age 14 and up to 150 pounds, which by the way includes me. So I'm having as much fun on this one as the other kids. Now, when it comes to screen-free entertainment, these are Tonys. This Tony box, it's an award-winning screen-free entertainment system. Kids place a Tony right on top of that, and this soft cube instantly identifies the character, the newest one. Well, it's a Marvel Tony. It's Black Panther. Comes with songs and an original crime-fighting story, which the kids are going to love. There's a whole variety of really fun Tonys out there, so a little bit of something for everyone. Now, when it comes to science, we can do that in the summertime too. Top Secret Toys brings us Dissect It. This is a really cool toy frog dissection kit. They also have other animals, a bat, a piranha, a salamander, soon to be rattlesnake. Kids are going to discover a lot with these synthetic animals while carving through one-of-a-kind gelatin material. They're going to get to that skeletal structure, a full set of organs, veins, arteries. Comes with the dissection table. It comes with tools. It comes with 2 refills and a 14-page learning guide. This is so much fun. They're going to learn a lot. No harm to animals, no foul smell, and no trauma. Perfect for me. Now, when it comes to de-stressing, we're all going to need that over the summer months. This is Neato, brought to us by Schilling. This is going to help us de-stress. Maybe you want a fidget toy to help you focus. Well, they started this whole squish sensation. Pull, stretch, smush, squeeze. This is going to help us all with our best mellow and our best chill. There are so many great new ones. Ripples, which is a big 2-handed squishable with patterned skin. There's one called Nice Cube. It's nice, hard, almost hard to squeeze, but really cool. And then Dream Drop. This one's hitting the stores this summer. It looks like a drop of honey. All of these quiet, no mess, not sticky, and helps us chill out.
It sounds like it. Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, we really appreciate all the info you've given us here. Something to think about as we get into the summer months. Thank you.
All right, the time now is 10:32. This morning, we are helping you scam-proof your summer. We're talking about scams. I know we all hate them. I hate them. But this next segment is a perfect opportunity to help you learn ways to avoid the latest digital scams. And joining us this morning is Ben Chance. He's the Chief Fraud Risk Management Officer at Early Warning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you. I've been waiting for this interview all morning long because we all know about scams. I spent a lot of time online this morning. So here's a $1 million question. Can we avoid scams altogether? Is that even possible?
I think you can avoid being the victim of a scam, but unfortunately, we lead digital lives, and scammers know that. So what we can't avoid is that email, phone, text message, or that scam that might be occurring in social media or even in a digital marketplace. So unfortunately, you're going to be exposed to scams as a consumer, but that doesn't mean you have to be the victim of scams as a consumer. And hopefully I'll be able to provide some tips on how to prevent that.
Yeah, absolutely. So since we can't avoid them altogether, what are some of the common scams that you notice, or some of the current trends that are currently affecting some consumers?
So scammers are smart. They understand what we do as consumers, and they follow those consumer behavior patterns. So during the summer, we tend to see an increase in concert ticket and festival related scams. We also see, of course, an increase in vacation rental related scams. And then as consumers, we typically do home improvement, or maybe we move over the summer months. And so scammers know that, and they target those just normal changes in consumer spending patterns. They know that. They follow us just like, in order to try and exploit that, frankly.
During the summer months, do you see more scams than what you usually see throughout other months?
Not necessarily more scams. Again, it's more of the mix might change towards consumer behavior. So it's not that those scams can't occur during the rest of the year, and certainly there can't be other types of scams, but again, they're really sophisticated and they know what we want to be doing during the summer, and that's where they target us. They prey on those emotions. They know what we're trying to go after, and that's why they present those scam messages to us to try and dupe us into doing something we wouldn't ordinarily do.
Okay, so let's jump right into it then. Let's talk about some of those best practices that we can do starting today to help us avoid becoming a victim. Why don't you just go ahead and break that down for us?
Yeah, so first and foremost, only use Zelle to pay people you know and trust. We invest heavily in both technology and consumer education, and we've been able to drive nearly a 50% reduction in the fraud and scam rate on the Zelle network over the last year, while the network grew nearly 30%. But of course, more needs to be done on both of those dimensions. At the same time, as a consumer, I would encourage your audience never to give away their bank account details. That includes a one-time passcode or a PIN. Your bank's never going to ask for that. If you give that up, you're actually giving away access to your account. And then lastly, I would say don't trust the caller ID that's being presented to you. Let it go to voicemail. If you think it's a legitimate request, call the number that's on your billing statement, if it's your bank or a service provider, or even on the back of your debit card. That's the best way to make sure you're talking to an authorized representative of that company, and you're not talking to someone that's trying to impersonate that company and frankly scam you out of your hard-earned money.
Yeah, that's a good advice, and I know that's a lot to take in on this interview, but those who are watching this morning and they want to know more, they want to learn more, how can they do that?
They can go to zellepay.com/safety-education. That has resources on how to spot scams. But also, if you've been the victim of a scam, it has resources on how to report that to your financial institution, as well as the Federal Trade Commission.
All right. Again, that was Ben Chance with those helpful tips. Was there anything else that you wanted to add today that I did not ask you about?
No, just thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. The time now is 10:37. We'll be right back in the next 60 seconds.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. Today, not terrible when it comes down to the heat and humidity combination. The heat cranks up, the humidity not terrible today. That will change as we head into the next 24 hours. Temperatures work their way up into the mid-90s through the course of the day with the south breeze flowing in around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Heading up to Millington for the Flag City Freedom celebration tonight. Not bad, 6 p.m. I still think it's going to be plenty hot out there. So if you have plans heading out there to the Millington Sports Complex, temperature 93 at 6 p.m., 88 by 8, and of course, as fireworks are popping off like 9, 10 o'clock tonight, we should be in the middle 80s. I think that the fireworks will come to an end about 9:30 tonight. But overall, quiet. South breeze is still flowing in around 5 miles per hour. Now, we'll say that humidity levels will stay comparable to yesterday, but they do start to creep upwards slowly but surely through the course of the day. And they really start to hit their peak through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Extremely steamy air filtering into the Mid-South as we head through the next couple of days. That will eventually lead up to some chances for some rain and storms. But before that, the heat-humidity combination could get to dangerous levels heading into your day on Wednesday. So a first alert weather day in effect for your day on Wednesday. When you factor in the heat and humidity combination, 97 actual air temperature will operate more like 112 here in the city of Memphis. That's just in the city of Memphis. Outlying areas, some spots could go 115 or so in some instances. And we'll be close to that level again on Thursday. As the humidity levels go up, the actual temperature may come down, but the humidity levels go up a couple of extra notches for your Thursday. That may lead to a better chance for a few showers and storms. Not as hot, but still humid enough for your Friday into the weekend. A little drier air sneaking into the area, so it's not terribly bad. Liberty for All at Liberty Park tomorrow evening. There's a lot of events going on Wednesday evening with fireworks and things of that nature. There might be a rogue shower or thunderstorm to bubble up with the daytime heating for your Wednesday. We'll keep it mostly dry, though, especially after sunset. Temperatures in the 90s. Remember, that 94 is probably still going to be operating more like 105 to 110 degrees at 5 o'clock in the evening. 91 likely operating closer to about 100 to 105, and 86 at 9 o'clock, still very steamy, operating more like the upper 90s with the south breeze flowing in around 5 miles per hour. Again, when you add in that humidity, eventually it's going to have to pop off something, and that could be some opportunities for some rain and storms by the time we head towards Thursday and Friday. Rain chances come lower again by the weekend and then pop back up early next week as some tropical moisture invades the region. I'll fast forward the first alert futurecast to Wednesday, and again, there may be a few pop-up downpours in a few spots. Again, randomly placed, randomly timed. Okay, not everybody will see wet weather for Wednesday, but if you get caught underneath a downpour, it could be heavy. With some lightning popping off, gusty winds, and of course the torrential downpours. Of course, if you're not seeing that, it's a mixture of more sunshine than not, and it's just going to be just downright hot. Upper 90s, again, operating between 108 to 115 degrees, and some spots even higher than that. Those showers and storms that are able to flare up for Wednesday will fall apart pretty quickly, but there's a frontal boundary looming just to the north of the Action News 5 coverage area for the most part. Again, I say the most part because, again, Pemiscot County, Dunklin County, over towards Lake Obion County, and as well as Dyer County, right on the edge of seeing some shower and thunderstorm opportunities early in the day on Thursday. And I think that there may even be some rain and storms to contend with overnight Wednesday into Thursday. That front gets a little closer to us, sparks some showers and thunderstorms. Again, very high mugginess, very high humidity in place, very high moisture value in place on Thursday. High octane, we'd say 93 octane on the humidity levels. I think we'll still be in the mid-90s, so like a 93 for the actual air temperature, but it feels like it's closer to about 110 degrees in some instances. So these pop-up downpours will be more comfortable, but that summer steam is still going to be there. After sunset, any shower and thunderstorm activity should fall apart. I think that for the fireworks time for Thursday, I think you're actually pretty good. We get ready, though, for another wave of rain and storms. So late Thursday night into Friday morning, a cluster of thunderstorms comes dropping into the area, running into very muggy air, very unstable air. These storms could be a bit stronger, maybe a strong or severe thunderstorm not out of the realm of possibility. Of course, we'll keep you updated on all of this with the heat, the humidity, and the storm potential coming up here in the next couple of days on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Out to the tropics, we are tracking Hurricane Beryl moving westward, barreling westward at about 22 miles per hour. The sustained winds 165 miles per hour. This thing is massive, of course, taking up a good breadth of the the Caribbean Sea here this morning. Of course, inner core of the storm offshore of any of the major islands of the greater Antilles. You see Puerto Rico here, San Juan, back over towards Hispaniola. This is going to make a run, though, towards Jamaica. Okay, I think that Jamaica does get inside the inner core of the storm as it moves westward, but it's going to be moving into an environment that's a little less conducive, a little bit more wind shear, and of course some drier air just ahead of the storm system to weaken it a bit. It's still going to be a formidable storm, though, over the next couple of days as it continues to work its way westward. Here's a look at the track. And again, you see the track go right over Jamaica as we head towards the time frame of late Wednesday into early Thursday. So the next 24 hours or so, we'll probably see this storm moving across Jamaica here as a Category 3 hurricane. Notice the center of circulation just off of the Jamaican coastline, southern Jamaican coastline by Wednesday afternoon. And again, making his way on shore probably during that afternoon time frame. Then it weakens, of course, a little mountainous there in Jamaica. We start moving westward into a more less conducive environment, likely coming ashore in the Yucatan Peninsula around Cancun and Cozumel as we get closer to Friday morning as a Category 1 hurricane. Again, it starts to lose some of its very tightly knit characteristics. The general trend here, once it moves across the Yucatan Peninsula into the weekend, that area of low pressure will then continue westward into northern Mexico. This is the same area that was just impacted by Tropical Storm Chris yesterday and was affected by Tropical Storm Alberto just a few days ago. So the moisture eventually has to go somewhere, and it's going to come curling around by the end of next week into a frontal boundary that could bring us a little better chances for some rain and storms. So we'll have some tropical-esque downpours potentially early next week. But as far as direct impacts, that's not going to be the case. We go into the next few days. A first alert weather day in effect for Wednesday. Again, for it feels like temperatures that could crest between 108 to 115 degrees for Wednesday. So we want you to take care of yourself in the heat, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, wear light, loose-fitting clothing, breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course checking in on groups of people and also your pets as well. Make sure they have good, clean drinking water. We go into Thursday. I still think that it's going to be plenty hot and humid. I think still feels like temperatures 105 to 110 on Thursday. Hot as a firecracker. Some of nature's fireworks to go along with it as well. Watching again Thursday night into Friday. A few strong storms can't be rolled out here on the early side of Friday. Still some opportunities for rain and storms through the course of the day. Temperatures running cooler, generally upper 80s to near 90 degrees Friday, Saturday. Lower rain chances Saturday, Sunday. We'll pop back in the low 90s on Sunday. Again, near 90 on Monday of next week with some better chances for rain and storms through the early portion of the week.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Boy, do we need a good night's rest. I feel like I say that all the time. Of course, I have a crazy schedule, but I know many of you out there always want a better night's sleep. How do we get a better night's sleep? That is the subject of our next interview. Let's bring in Dr. Saberlyn Walters, Internal Medicine at Regional One Health. I appreciate you joining us on the Digital Desk, Doctor. So how do we get that good night's rest? Where do we start?
Well, I would say you want to have a good environment for your sleep and identify what's causing you to have not to have a good night's rest. So some of the reasons that people tend to not sleep is, you have a disruptive schedule. So people who work shifts may have problems sleeping. People that have medical issues, people that take medications that might disrupt your sleep cycle, as well as, the good old stress that a lot of times we have that, we have racing thoughts, things that kind of stop us from sleeping. But the primary thing to improve that is to have an environment that is conducive of sleep.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I always hear a few things. One, we should have the room where we sleep very cool, maybe like 68, 67, that sort of thing. The other thing is don't look at any screens, phones, tablets, that sort of thing, for at least an hour before you go to bed, and then don't eat right up until you go to bed. Am I hitting on some right things here, or are they wrong? What else can we add to the list?
You are exactly correct. So you want your room to be dark and cool. And so for some people, it may be about 68, 67 degrees. For some, it might go down to 65, depending on your, your body type. You want to not have any caffeine 10 hours before you sleep. You want to not have any alcohol at least 3 hours before you sleep. And you want to not do any busy work or have any heavy meals at least 2 hours before sleep. In preparation for sleep, you can do things like if you have a lot of thoughts going on, maybe journaling an hour before, that might get you into the rest state, even reading. But when you read, you don't want to read something that is emotionally intense. You want to be able to read something that will calm you overall. Cool sheets, dark sheets, and like you mentioned, you don't want to have any screens, television, cell phones, iPads, none of those things on or in the room if you can avoid it.
What about the idea of taking supplements? I unfortunately have this crazy schedule where I have to get up at the night before practically. I mean, my alarm goes off at 2:15. That's just what I've been dealing with for the last 15 years. Sometimes I have to take melatonin. Sometimes I have to take some other sleep enhancements. Which ones are the best ones that you see out there on the market?
So for what you're describing in your issue, melatonin would be a good supplement because our body makes melatonin, and that's what helps decide whether we're in a sleep cycle or wake cycle. When you have these shift changes where you work overnight, or you're a night worker, or like in physician, when we were training, we had to do 24 to 36-hour shifts when you're awake. That disrupts your circadian rhythm, and that's the normal rhythm that tells your body when it's time to sleep and when it's not. So melatonin is that substance in our body that helps determine that. So that would be a great supplement that you can take when you're having issues with sleep for those reasons. If patients or if persons think that they have things like insomnia, they're just having a hard time sleeping, if they're just having a hard time staying asleep, that is when you want to go to your provider to get more of a sleep journal and history to identify what the problem is, because supplements can only work so much as if it's an organic issue. But if you're having issues, say with anxiety, if you're drinking caffeine too late in the day, those supplements will not necessarily work. So melatonin, I would say yes for shift work, but anything else you want to consult with your provider.
What else can we talk about so we can get a good night's rest tonight, doctor?
I think it is important to not stress about sleeping. We know it's important, just like how we have smartphones that have to recharge at night. We know that it's vital for us to have good sleep. And you've heard many things about whether you need 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. Everyone has their rhythm determined. So if you're feeling restful after your night's sleep, it doesn't matter whether for you it's 6 hours or for someone else it's 9 hours. So not to stress so much, having kind of realistic expectations. And I would say the majority of people do not have organic issues for their sleep disorders, is that we overall have not had good hygiene. So if you're having difficulty with sleeping, start journaling that 1 hour before you go to sleep about what is going on, what is stopping you, and making sure that you bring that to your provider or your bed partner or things like that, and just kind of go systematically through things to help you get a better night's sleep.
I hear a lot about lights, red light therapy, or making sure to eliminate blue lights by wearing certain kinds of glasses. Where are you on that?
I prefer not to have any screens at all in the bedroom if you can avoid it. But if you can't, then the blue lights are more stimulating. And so that's why you have those glasses that eliminate them while you're watching television or you're on the screen. It does help in terms of reducing kind of the stimulation that your brain has when it thinks that, okay, those lights are telling you it's daytime. And that's one of those things that disrupt the circadian rhythm. So if you have to have screens in the bedroom, if you have to use them before you go to bed, then I would recommend using those glasses.
Okay. Wow, we've hit on a lot of topics. Anything else before we let you go? This has been great.
No, I think that is fine. Just remember that sleep isn't just for, rest in your body. It also prevents a lot of medical conditions. And we know that not just insomnia or sleep apnea are problems as a result of disrupted sleep, but that it can increase your chances of other medical conditions. So making sure you get a good night's rest as much as possible.
All right. Well, listen, Dr. Walters, I appreciate your time this morning. Very helpful for all of us who just want a good night's sleep tonight. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, that wraps it up for us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Join us tomorrow and each and every day from 7 to 11 a.m. For now, we're going to turn it over to Action News 5 Midday, which is going to kick off in the next, I believe, 6-7 minutes there with Ariana Poindexter and Jerry Askin. We'll see you tomorrow.